President Donald J. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance are dismantling the legacy media one program at a time. The latest casualty is Margaret Margaret over on CBS News. Face the nation? Well, get ready to face a losing station, legacy media. But while things are going glowingly for the executive branch, there's one problem that could be starting to hatch. We'll tell you the error that President Trump and J.D. Vance may be making right now. Hello, folks, and welcome back. Yes, it's Monday, but that's A-okay because you are the kind of person to conquer a week of challenges and opportunities ahead. We have an opportunity here with us, and it is that L.W. Ghost, the panelist with the most, is here. He's back again. Lou, how are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. You know, when you talk about a week, I was doing the math. There are 52 weeks in a year. A presidential term is 4 years, so that's, 208? So we only have 207 weeks like this left to go.
I don't know how the legacy media is going to survive. I mean, they have been obliterated. Folks, we don't try to be too political here, but it's very difficult when the entire entertainment landscape, as well as how you receive your news, is changing, and it's changing because of one political figure. And then we have to weigh in on that because all of the economic models for how these people generate revenue is changing. Now, we're going to come back to the J.D. Vance interview, and just for a very brief moment of context, I want to show you this. Everything is changing. It's not just Disney. It's not just ABC. It's not just CBS. It's not just CNN. It's not just MSNBC. Let's remember that people like Norah O'Donnell, they're saying goodbye, and they've been some of the chief detractors of Orange Man Bad. Let's play this came out this past week. We'll play just a brief moment of it. Here you go.
As many of you know, this is my final evening news broadcast. It has been an incredible 5.5 years. And I'm told we have a surprise guest. Honestly, I don't know who it is.
Now, we're not going to play more of it. I just want you to know that's where we are, right? CBS and many of these others. CNN is shuffling the entire lineup of their hosts.
And laying off about 200 people, too, I think.
Yeah.
The bottom line is they've been paying these people a lot of money and seeing viewership drop. And somebody in the bean counting department said, well, wait just a minute. Maybe we're not getting a bang for our buck. In fact, the reverse.
And I would say, Lou, that it's not just that. I would say that they had a job to do. They were supposed to make sure that President Trump never returned. They were supposed to ensure that Kamala Harris would be the winner, or Joe Biden before the debate debacle. And none of that happened. So since they don't have ratings, they don't have cachet, they don't have sway with the electorate, they have to go away. That's the whole deal. And that's why we're seeing what is happening. And in particular, I would like for us to watch this J.D. Vance interview with Face the Nation and Margaret's back, and just watch how ineffective they are versus whatever this President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance strategy is. They're just completely and totally ineffective at what their job is. So she'll probably be gone at some point, because if you can't take down a Republican, what good are you, right? What good are you? Here we go. Here's the interview.
It was a tie, bipartisan opposition, smallest margin since the job was created. You had to break that tie. If the nominee can't unite your party, how's he going to lead 3 million people?
Well, look, I think Pete is a disruptor, and a lot of people don't like that disruption. But Margaret, that disruption is incredibly necessary. If you think about all of those bipartisan massive votes, we have to ask ourselves, what did they get us? They got us a country where we fought many wars over the last 40 years, but haven't won a war about as long as I've been alive. They've got us a military with a major recruitment crisis, a procurement price crisis that's totally dysfunctional, where we buy airplanes for billions and billions of dollars, terrible cost overruns. The delivery dates are always delayed. So we need a big change. Now, admittedly, there are people who don't like that big change, but it is necessary, and it's explicitly what Donald J. Trump ran on. And I think part of the reason why the American people elected him their 47th president.
So the main objective is...
I want everybody to look at her face, because her face says, I am the hired opposition. I wasn't supposed to be the hired opposition. I was supposed to be the hired jubilant, celebrator along with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. But here I am, stuck as the opposition. The brows are furrowed, the eyes are down, the posture is negative. Everything about the way that she is approaching this is in aggression.
And what that attitude you see on her face there says is, I thought I had a gotcha. I thought I was going to zing you when I said your own people didn't want to vote for him. I thought I'd win, and you managed to turn it around on me. How dare you?
Right.
I don't know what to do now.
Flipped it with absolute skill, and folks, we're not here to take either side. We're just here to tell you it's a masterclass in communications that JD Vance is putting on, and the legacy media is not prepared for it. Their typical strategies, the playbook, is just done. I mean, everybody sees it. It's as fake as the win the Chiefs achieved yesterday, right? Sorry, NFL fans, the three of you who remain. Here we go. A little bit more, and then Lou, I want your thoughts on just what's happening here.
Changing all of that it's going to be Pete Hegseth alone?
I'd say the main problem the main thing that we want Pete Hegseth to do is to fix the problems at the Department of Defense. And unfortunately, there are many. We've gotten into way too many wars that we don't have a plan for winning. We've gotten into way too many misadventures that we shouldn't have got into in the very first place. And our procurement process, Margaret, is incredibly broken. We're in an era.
Decisions.
Well, of course, they're policy decisions, but they're also logistical and implementation decisions. If you look at where we are with the rise of artificial intelligence, with the rise of drone technology and drone warfare, we have to really top to bottom change the way that we fund the procurement of weapons, the way that we arm our troops. This is a major period of disruption, and we think Pete Hegseth is the guy to lead the job. Now, there's another element to this, Margaret, too, which is we believe.
All right, let's pause there. Lou, I want to get your thoughts on just how well he flips the script on her. She comes with a gotcha. She comes back with the follow-up gotcha. And in both cases, he does exactly what he wants to do. And he does it naturally, so it doesn't feel to the audience like he's obfuscating or trying to avoid what she's asking. And
he cuts to the chase so much throughout this interview. I don't know if you're going to show the clip about vetting the immigrants and whatever. And this woman tries to say, well, the guy you're talking about, and he's talking about an Afghan who then went radical and was brought in under a program where supposedly he was vetted. And she said, well, but maybe he was radicalized after he got to this country. And what is Vance's response? I don't care. I don't want him living in my neighborhood next to my kids.
Right.
And that's the average American's response is, I don't care about all this complexity of process. I just want to feel safe. I just want to feel like I can walk down the street without my friendly neighbor pulling out a bazooka, And he continually goes to the bottom line result. That's what he's talking about with the procurement process and AI and all the rest of it and the drones. He's saying, let's get the job done. Let's not worry about the process and about the politics and about the identity politics. And here's the thing. When you talked about these various established news media people not achieving their purpose by not getting the Democrats elected, look, everybody knows you can preach to your own choir and probably get most of them, and you can preach to the other guy's choir and it's a harder sell. But they were losing their own. If you look at the numbers in their supposedly safe demographic groups, whether they're ethnic or financial or anything else, they were losing their own. That's why they lost. So theoretically, look, you and I are not watching the CBS News with anybody, let alone the one who just got canned or any of the CNN people, because we know what they're going to say and we've heard it all before and we don't care. But the people who do, who are turning it off, who are seeing the ratings fall. Why? Because it's like, oh, God, not that again. Not that again. First of all, the first rule, Billy Wilder, the great movie director, said, first of all, don't be boring. Well, I think they've kind of broken that rule, don't you?
Well, remember, Lou, about 2021, the questions were things like, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the kid gloves. But the thing is, they've switched out the kid gloves, and they do not have the sword they need to vanquish this dragon that they consider to be Orange Man Bad and JD Vance. Now, I want to show you, though, Lou, there is in legacy media somebody who is transitioning well. That's Dr. Phil. And we can't play much of this for reasons of copyright. We're going to do this under fair use. I'm just going to play this briefly. Dr. Phil is out there with the gentleman who has been put in charge of the ICE raids. He's out there with him. And they're going through and seeing who it is exactly that's being rounded up in these sanctuary cities. And it's a stark contrast to what the legacy media traditionally would do. Dr. Phil, though, I think is he's caught on because this is not boring. Here's what America is experiencing, has been experiencing, and which is the cause of the cultural shift all across the political landscape.
You have a person that think.
Sam.
Say the song?
Yes.
Where you from?
Where I was born or where I'm from?
Where you born?
Thailand.
You been deported before from the United States?
No.
Never been deported?
I've been in the system before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you been charged with
Charged where?
before?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna talk about lawyer.
Now, there's way more to this, folks. We're not going to go through it right now. It's available through Dr. Phil on X, and we don't want to go beyond the appropriate boundaries. But all that to say, what this guy is accused of, what he's been rounded up for, is
And what he's been convicted for, it says.
yes, atrocities against kids. These are the people who are being deported. These are the people that the legacy media has been defending. I think that this is exactly how, if you want to survive today in this sort of entertainment, this sort of news coverage, whatever mixture that might be, Dr. Phil's got it. What do you think, Lou?
Well, it's very simple. Forget about party. Forget about how you're registered or how they expect you to vote or what your ethnicity is or your socioeconomic group. Do you want a convicted child molester living in your neighborhood? Yes or no? Especially if they're illegal and could have been deported a long time ago. Answer: get them away from my kids. It's not about whether I list myself as a D or an R or an I or anything else. I'm a parent and I want to protect my children, and I expect the government to do that, and it hasn't been. It's time for a change. That's all.
We're going to skip ahead in the J.D. Vance interview now, and we're going to see how Margaret's doing later on. Let's see if she gathers a new wind in her sails, Lou. Here we go.
Still count on the federal government, but watch that space. Let me ask you about another area that you campaigned on quite a lot, and there was a flurry of activity on, and that has to do with immigration.
Sure.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders signed by President Trump, specifically those allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
Well, let me address this. Of course, if you have a person who is convicted of a violent crime, whether they're an illegal immigrant or a non-illegal immigrant, you have to go and get that person to protect the public safety. That's not unique to immigration. But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line? We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them talk
support
about
them going into
people like
schools
Laken
and
Riley
churches.
who were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe. Let me ask this question, Margaret. Let's separate the immigration issue. If you had a violent murderer in a school, of course I want law enforcement to go and get that person out.
Of course.
So what's the point?
Lou, he manages to very simply, very easily switch her onto his side just by asking a common sense question. It seems to be something that legacy media simply isn't prepared for. They want to take him down. They want to take down President Trump, yet these two have been more available than any executive leaders I've ever seen before. I mean, they are.
And let's remember the idea of keeping schools and churches off limits to immigration was a Biden executive order that was nullified as part of those first few that were nullified. So yeah, the obvious again, it's not about are they legal or illegal, although that's part of it and that's a way to get rid of them. It's about are they bad people? And if they're bad people with proven track records of abusing children or committing murder or committing assaults, get them either in jail or the hell out of the country, period. I don't care. I don't care what classification they come down through. And if the local police and the local law enforcement in a blue area won't, then the federal government has to. It's just really that simple.
Absolutely. And I would say too, Lou, that one of the things that we've got to be paying close attention to is when it comes to the legacy media and the new media and everybody involved with how we get the narratives out there, I'm getting a little bit of a criticism for President Trump and for Vice President J.D. Vance. And that is, they're going back on the legacy media. They're going back on CBS, Face the Nation. They're going on NBC. Listen, that's fine to some extent. But we've talked about the new media. The audience is gone. Like, unless you're just there to dunk on them, then I don't know what you're going to do, other than just have a little bit of a win here. But everybody's watching Megyn Kelly. They're watching PBD. They're watching the Daily Wire. They're watching, I can keep going. They're watching the Young Turks. The audience has switched to the new media. And I don't sense, and this is a criticism, I don't sense that President Trump and that J.D. Vance have shifted to that new media strategy post-election. I think they need to talk to Barron some more. I think he's on it. I think he knows what's happening.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think you're right but wrong, and here's why. First of all, it's been a week, okay? They haven't said they're not going to go on all those things again. In fact, quite the opposite. And I think this is called cleanup. This is called, hey, those of you who saw what was going on, didn't like, but you're still watching those old media and you're still hoping that they're going to get their senses. Let me show you how far out they are, and it's time for you to move over too. As I said, Trump and everyone around him did not win because they got all the Republicans. They won because they got a whole lot of people who were maybe still registered as a D, let alone an I, people who were in the groups that the Democrats presumed they had ethnically or economically, who said, not in my name. They can't keep doing this crap. I'm sorry. Either I'm going to sit it out or I'm going to vote against what I would normally have voted for. Well, a whole lot of those are the ones who are still watching. And just because we see the ratings on CBS or CNN or anybody else fall off, and just because we see the bean counters there saying, you know what, we can't afford to pay all these high-priced anchors and their staffs when they're not delivering eyes and ears, which is their job, there's still a lot of people to move. There's still a lot of people to give up. And they know where to find the alternative. They know where to find Megyn Kelly and everyone else. And it's not on those airs, but they're still watching. He's there because that's where the audience that is yet to be convinced still is. It's been a week. It's been a week.
That's a great point. He's there for the audience that has not yet been convinced. The approval rating, Rasmussen was the very best this past November.
Yeah.
You can toss out any kind of slings and arrows against them. I don't care anymore about hearing, they're conservative. No, they were the most accurate. That's all I care about. Rasmussen has Trump's approval rating at something like 53 to 56%, depending on the day. So I think the needle is moving. We've never seen him have those kind of ratings. There's an effort now, Lou, though, from the other side to get a hold of this new media. And I want to show you this because it's absolutely the epitome of how badly they're managing this.
Did you see AOC's take on this?
Well, I did see AOC. I thought about using AOC, but AOC is a politician. This kid is supposed to be intertwined with entertainment, although you could say that AOC, a former bartender, is largely entertaining. Harry Sisson says, and by the way, I think he's paid for it. I don't know that to be true, but I believe he's paid for. Harry Sisson says Trump's tariffs on Colombia are going to make the products you buy more expensive, and he's supposed to be influencing. He's an influencer, right? An inorganic influencer, I would say. Here's what he had to say as the forces against President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance attempt to catch hold of the tail of new media. Here's how they're doing.
Donald Trump's newly announced tariffs on Colombia will make some of the things you buy almost every single day far more expensive. First and foremost, the United States gets around 27% of our coffee from Colombia, a huge portion of what the United States consumes. Also, 60% of roses sold in the United States originate from Colombia. Valentine's Day is just 18 days away. A lot of the bulbs, roots, trees that we import in the United States comes from Colombia.
Now, we'll just stop there. It's going to be it's going to be 1 minute of that.
All right, let's just cut to the chase. It will make them more expensive if you persist in buying them. But if you say, gee, they're more expensive, I'm not going to buy them, then you won't. End of story.
Well, Lou, he came out with this, and it was about an hour later that the president of Colombia agreed to not only receive the deported individuals that, by the way, we were just talking about when we watched Dr. Phil, and as we were watching CBS Face the Nation. About an hour after this goober puts this thing out, the president of Colombia not only is accepting them back, he's going to send his presidential plane to go pick them up.
Yeah, right. I'll send my own plane to get them. You don't have to pay for the gas, Mr. Trump. I'm sorry. Now let me use a famous quote. Famous quote. Robespierre, the head of the French Revolution until it got him too. He described the guillotine as, quote, pour encourager les autres. In other words, it wasn't about the people whose heads they were chopping off. It was about all the people who would not, therefore, according to their terms, misbehave for fear of it. Now, how many other countries out there are going to say, holy, he's serious. I think maybe we better accept these people after all. And if you look at Mexico, that I understand is building a 10,000 bed shelter just across the border to receive these people back. Trump is the art of the deal. And when he makes it clear, yeah, I'm serious. Yeah, I'm actually going to do what I said I was going to do. They can at the beginning be arrogant and audacious and, oh, yeah, well, bull, you're not going to. And then he does it. And then what happens? And it's good that this guy fought him and then turned around, because it shows other people what happens if you don't toe the line.
Right. And it shows, I think, whatever you might think about President Trump and his policies. There may be some people watching this video who very much vehemently disagree with him. Whatever you think, this is a completely different tactical style, not only in the way that he is dealing with world leaders of much smaller nations, but also in the way that they're flooding the airwaves. I mean, President Biden was largely hidden for obvious reasons. Now there's a president who he's there 24 hours a day. I'm not sure he ever sleeps. I think he might blink at night, and that's good enough. And as a result, the legacy media is swamped with stories that they have to cover, and they're on their back feet the entire time. They can't keep up, even when they have their avatars of the new media out there trying to do it. They can't keep up either. The news is just happening so quickly. And as I said before,
I don't know how he does it without any sleep either, except that I notice he likes Diet Coke, not Coke Zero. So he's still getting the caffeine, even if he isn't getting the sugar. So maybe that helps.
Listen, he's like Warren Buffett. I mean, Diet Coke guys, I think it's some sort of formaldehyde for them. But Lou, we've got to head on out. My criticism, I'm still going to stand by it only because I want to see President Trump and J.D. Vance and others. I want them to go on to Megyn Kelly, to PBD, to these places that were so effective pre-election. I hope that it will continue to post-election. Of course, I do have some interest in that. I would like to see the new media, places like YouTube, the Green Machine X. I would like to see them just dominate.
Well, they're talking about giving them seats up in the front row at the White House briefing room instead of these legacy media. So that'll be interesting.
Do you know how amazing that would be? Do you? I mean, listen, I would love it. It would be fan-freaking-tastic.
And when people like this woman and her bosses say, well, you're just doing that because they're on your side, they can just smile and say, no, we're going where the most audience is. We're going to reach the most people. What's your problem? Don't you?
I would love to see the day. I would love to see the day where the new media, YouTube channels, get front seat at the press briefing room and ABC has to go to the second row. That would be a dandy of a Disney day. All right, Lou, thank you for making this a dandy of a video. Folks, love your content. Tell them where they can find you a little bit more, though, because you're not just here.
Well, every Sunday at 2:00 Eastern live, Vash and I do this show about the backlot with Lou and you, and we talk about all kinds of things. Sometimes we venture far from the backlot, as we did this past Sunday, but we answer your questions. I answer your questions about how the biz really works, as opposed to how you've been propagandized by the paid for or affiliate media to pretend how it works. And that goes all over the map. And then, of course, there's the genre guys, where we, when I say we, that's Hangry and Lorne and I, and occasionally, as is about to come up, a guest host with Marvin the Movie Monster, because Hangry is en route to a far-flung location for us. We talk about a movie, a great movie. Well, not all of them are great. Some of them we have disagreements over, but we go into its backstory and why it was made and how it was made and what it's got to tell us nowadays. Interesting little thing, by the way. The very next one we're about to do is one of my personal favorites, called Sinbad the Sailor, with Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and Maureen O'Hara and Anthony Quinn and Walter Slezak as this wonderfully sleazy villain. And you'll even catch Alfred, Alan Napier, Alfred from the Batman 66 in there as Fairbanks' father, believe it or not. But here's the thing. It reminds us of a period when the whole Persian and Arabian culture was part of our movie culture, part of our TV culture. Indeed, there was going to be a Persian-themed hotel at Disney World originally. And then the politics of the Middle East basically made us lose all of that wonderful style and culture, and that's a damn shame. But it's a wonderful movie, and we'll be going into it in depth when we record again next weekend. And we got a lot of other great ones, and they show up here on your channel, on the Pros channel, as a perk for membership. And then 3 months later, they get put up for nada on T3PO. So you can catch me on all of those, and occasionally on things like this with you and on other shows. Wherever there is trouble, I am there. Wherever there is danger, you will find me. I'm on a plethora of platforms, as they say, and happy to be.
And the Canadians said, plethora. Sorry,
yeah,
Canadian.
well, yeah, they also said A.
You know
So
what
are you
he's
going to do?
By the way, folks, he brought up Maureen O'Hara. Here's your homework for the day, since we do love entertainment and we miss great entertainment. Go look up and see, put in the comments down below, how many films did Maureen O'Hara appear in? Would love to know the answer to that. It's got to be many. All right, folks, you can help this video go out to many people and eyes and ears. Click the like button, share, subscribe. Click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on all of this. And folks, until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I pay for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?